Today, I want to talk about something that hits very close to home for me, which is how often we dim our light in life. How often we only show about 20, 50% of who we really are, all because we are afraid of being judged or misunderstood. Welcome back. You are listening to the Christina Abdullah podcast, where we talk about the real stuff, who you're becoming, why you think the way you think, why you keep being pulled back from your full potential, and everything no one told us growing up. Dimming your light doesn't always look obvious. Sometimes it's subtly lowering your standards to fit in. Self-censoring so you don't come across as quote unquote too much, or shrinking your wins so you don't come across as bragging, or even pretending you don't care about a certain situation to avoid being judged, or simply fearing that being your full self will cost you something. And when I think about dimming your light, I can see exactly where it showed up in each of my eras, which we spoke about in episode 1. And I want to lightly touch on these. Maybe you can relate or you can pinpoint. It will help you to pinpoint certain areas in your life where you are dimming your own light. So in Malta, it was very subtle for me. It wasn't that I lacked confidence, it's that I didn't even know what my light was yet. At that point, I was just trying to survive being a young adult and making the most of my life. When you are in that stage, shining isn't a priority, but staying afloat is. Well, it was for me anyway. Then UK and London came, and it was like I suddenly realized, oh, I am allowed to take up space, I can actually be whoever I want to be. And that version of me, she made things happen. She moved, she created, and she executed. But even there, looking back now, I can notice pockets where I shrank myself so much, especially when I started succeeding. It's funny how you can be confident and still be terrified of your own potential. And I had this hidden fear that if I kept rising, I'd lose people close to me. So to me, success, subconsciously, success meant separation. So I'd push, I'd succeed, and then I'd pull back. And it was like this constant tug of war when it came to my business. Then came Dubai, and Dubai was the era where I dimmed my light the most. And not because anyone asked me to, but because I was so disconnected from myself that shining felt dangerous. Not physically, but emotionally. I was tired, I was burnt out, I doubted everything. And when you are not grounded in who you are, being visible almost feels like a personal attack. And then Bali. Bali, I call it the great recalibration. And there is this saying that goes something like the island either wants you or it doesn't. And the reason people say that is because Bali exposes you to yourself. It puts your ego right in front of you and it leaves you nowhere to hide. And Bali didn't give me my light back. It made me realize I was the one dimming it the whole time. And across every era, the pattern was the same. I noticed I'd expand and then I'd shrink, either to make other people comfortable or, this will hit hard, to make myself feel safe. I didn't realize how much of my identity was being built around managing others people's perceptions of me. And honestly, if I had a pound for every time I dimmed my light in my 20s, I could have paid my London and Dubai rent with it. What I want to highlight is most of us, we don't shrink because we're weak. We shrink because the familiar feels safer than the full version of ourselves. So let's talk about why we actually do this, why we shrink, why we dim our lights, and why we play small. Even when we know we're capable of so much more. We are going to be touching on 5 reasons why we do this. But let me preface this. Dimming yourself is not a personality trait or a flaw. It's not weakness. It's identity. The wiring you built over years of unconsciously protecting yourself. So with that, reason 1 why we dim our light is old identity wiring. Every version of you that once felt unsafe learned how to survive. And sometimes that survival meant shrinking yourself, dimming your own light. So if at a younger age you felt or you were made to feel that you are too loud, too opinionated, too sensitive, too ambitious, or even too different, you would have learned to dial yourself down. It's not because you wanted to, but it's because you thought that you had to. And that wiring, it doesn't disappear just because you adult and because the adult you is ready to expand. And this is why confident people still shrink, because their identity is still running on old programming. The second reason why we dim our light is nervous system safety. Your body doesn't care if the small version of you is miserable. It only cares if it feels safe. Visibility is a whole nervous system event, okay? Being seen activates all the alarms if your body still associates attention with criticism, pressure, comparison, abandonment. So, of course, you're gonna dim your light, not because you don't want to shine, but because your nervous system believes that shining equals danger. The third reason why you could be dimming your light is fear of rejection. And this is the deepest one. We don't fear being seen. We fear being seen and being rejected for it. Rejection hits the same exact part of the brain as physical pain, which is the anterior cingulate cortex, which is why rejection feels so intense every single time. It feels like you feel it in the chest sometimes, like physical pain. So most people, they will unconsciously choose blending in, holding back, understating themselves and shrinking themselves because the brain equates visibility with risks. And you can be the most ambitious person in the room, and you will still be terrified of standing out because of this. The fourth reason why we dim our light is inherited rules. And this one, in my opinion, is the most frustrating because a lot of the ways how you act, which lead you to shrinking yourself, they're not even yours. And by that, I mean, it's because they are inherited. They are inherited from family, school rules, culture, old friendships, from partners, and from environments where you keeping yourself small was rewarded. So you would have learned the rules of don't be too much, don't outgrow the people around you, don't make others feel uncomfortable, be humble, don't rise too much. And all of these, they become part of your identity until you consciously rewrite them. And the last fifth reason of why we dim our light is internalized judgment. And here's the part that people never talk about. You don't fear other people judging you. You fear them judging you in the ways that you already judge yourself. I'm going to repeat that. You don't fear other people judging you. You fear them judging you in the ways that you already judge yourself. If there is a voice inside you that says, who do you think you are? You're not ready for that. People were gonna roll their eyes at you for doing that. If these thoughts go through your head when you're about to do something, that's you projecting outward. We're never scared of other people's opinion. We are scared that they will confirm our own opinion of ourselves. For me, I've had multiple shifts over the years, but the moment that everything shifted, it was in Bali. And it wasn't during a meditation or a breakthrough journaling session. It was actually on a bike. I had this little accident. I tore my leg open. Nothing major, but enough to take me out of my routine completely. And for days, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't train, I couldn't work, I couldn't even distract myself to the point where I couldn't even overthink properly because I was so high on meds. And that forced silence, it exposed everything I'd been avoiding. It was the first time in a long time where I couldn't run from myself. I couldn't busy myself back into safety. So I had no choice but to sit with the truth of who I had become and ultimately who I no longer wanted to be. And it hit me. The person I was dimming my light for was ceasing to exist. The version of me who needed to stay small, she was disappearing. And dare I say, long gone. But I was still living as if that person was still in charge. That bike incident, it showed me how much of my end identity was built around protection, not authenticity. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. That was the moment I promised myself no more shrinking, not to make others comfortable, not to make myself feel safe, not for anything. And of course, it's been a journey, not an overnight shift. And here's the thing, everything I just shared, it's not really about me, it's about you as well. Because if you're listening to this, there is a part of you that already knows you've been dimming your light as well. Maybe not in dramatic, extreme ways, but in quiet ways that only you can pinpoint, where you downplay your ideas, maybe you soften your voice, or you hide your ambitions from those close to you, or you make yourself smaller in rooms where you know you could lead, or maybe you pretend certain things don't matter because you don't want to look too much. Deep down, you know exactly where you've been shrinking, and you also know who you'd be if you stopped. The truth is, the version of you who is scared to shine is not wrong. It's just protecting you in the only way they know how. But it is protecting you from a past that doesn't exist anymore. So the question I want to leave you with is, who are you dimming your light for? And what would happen if you stopped? Because the moment you let yourself take up space, even just a little, your entire life starts rearranging itself around that decision. Not because you become a different person, but because you finally allow the world to see you for who you've always been. And then the world starts responding to that version of you. All right, I'm going to leave you with this. This week, pay attention to the moments where you shrink. And important, not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Because self-awareness is how your light comes back. Okay, before I turn this into a Sunday sermon, I am gonna wrap it up here, and I will see you next Sunday. Same coffee chat vibes, deeper conversation.